Cyberpunk Uncensored.
Hey, what's up everybody? This video is all about multiclassing. Yep, you heard me right. In Cyberpunk Red, they allow multiclassing. It's awesome. So let me explain how that works. But before I get into that, let me briefly explain what a role is. In Cyberpunk Red, they explain a role is who you are. It's not a job that you do. You know, nobody's paying you to clock in a 9 to 5 as, you know, to be a solo or a fixer or nomad or whatever. And it's basically who you are. And then you're using those, you know, characteristics and skills and role abilities to get jobs and get gigs, you know? And that's basically what a role is. It's who you are. But in Cyberpunk Red, you can change that up and you can multi-class. So let's get into exactly how that works. The first thing you need to know is you have to be at least rank 4 of your current role. So whatever you are, and there's 10 different roles that you can choose from when you start off in Cyberpunk Red. And check out the crash course videos I have for each role. I made a different video for each role and I break down what that role is and how their role ability works. But check those out to learn more and get into that. I'm not going to get into those details in this video. This is about multi-classing. So the first thing, make sure whatever role you are, you're at least a rank 4 in that current role. The next thing is you have to have enough IP to buy rank 1 of the new role you want to be. And if you want to learn more about IP, again, I'm not going to get into all those details right now. Check out the other crash course video I made about IP improvement points. And then you'll learn how that works. But ultimately, to start off on a rank 1 of any role, you need at least 60 IP points. But check out that video to learn how that works. So back to multi-classing. Make sure you're at least a rank 4 of your current role, and then make sure you have enough IP to buy the rank 1 of the role you want to change to. And then the next thing you need to know is the new role that you choose is now your primary role. So even though you will have access to both skills, both role abilities at that point, but everyone on the street, everyone in the game, in that world is going to look at you as that new role. So now who you are is that new role, but you will have the same skills that you had prior as that previous role, along with the new skills that you're going to start focusing and developing and building as a rank 1 of your new role in that new role. So keep in mind the other thing before I move on, you can change up again. You know, you can multi-class ongoing forever. It's just like the real world. You know, you can focus on one type of career path and lifestyle and then change that up. But in Cyberpunk Red, it's always in increments of 4. So think of that, you know, if you change up your role, your new role becomes your primary role. And then that's at a level 1 that you bought with IP points. And then you can't change that up again. You can't, you know, multi-class again into a third, another new role to focus on until you reach rank 4 of that primary role now. So whatever you change to and you bought into at rank 1, you now have to work your way up to rank 4 of that current role before you can, you know, change to a new role if that's what you want to do. But that's ultimately how multi-classing works. And the only thing that I want to add here is, and it's GM discretion on how you want to allow players to multi-class, you know, follow those rules. But one detail I like to add as a GM, and you might have your own, is I like it to make sense. And by that I mean the player needs to kind of define how they're changing their role, you know, because they're in this world. I like to make it as realistic and immersive as possible. So like, let me just give one example. So let's say somebody is a nomad, right? And in the game, they're constantly dealing with supply chains and sourcing things for, you know, gangs and fixers and corporations and things. And let's say they've been hired by a corporation like, you know, Continental Brands or something to go and bring, you know, supplies and drop them off at different oasis stations along a certain path up the West Coast, you know, or some. And that nomad has handled that enough times that the corporation is like, you know, we really like the way that you work. Why don't you kind of handle a whole region of our nomads and supply chains, not just the one you were doing, but we kind of would like you to almost manage that. And all of a sudden the nomads, has a chance to multi-class into the exec role for the corporation. So you see how that makes sense. I like to have it in gameplay. Whereas if the nomad is all of a sudden, hey, you know what? I want to change to a rocker boy now. Well, okay, that's cool. I guess you would have to like find a mentor or a teacher, start learning how to play an instrument or something. Or they say, oh, I want to be a media. Okay, well, maybe you should, you're going to have to take some courses in journalism and things like that. Like there's got to be a process. You see what I'm saying? But if it was already in the gameplay, like someone in their life path was a fellow media or worked for, News 54 or Night City Beat or whatever, or like a relative was a rocker boy or someone from their past or a best friend, whatever, something from the life path that connects them to that storyline, you can make it up and have it make sense to the world and to the story and the campaign that you're playing with your players ultimately. So that's my only sort of suggestion. That's how I like to do it. I follow the rules of multi-classing as Cyberpunk Red has it, but I always make sure it makes sense in game. That way it's as immersive as possible, and the players are then more invested in their characters because they're developing them. They're not just like, oh, let me change that, let me change that. It doesn't become this sort of cold game mechanism. It becomes part of that world when you do it that way. So that's my suggestion, have it make sense, follow the rules, and it should be a lot of fun. Multi-classing is really awesome, and I'm really happy that they added it to Cyberpunk Red. So anyways, hopefully the video was helpful to you, and if you found anything interesting about this or helpful, please consider giving it a like and a share, and don't forget to subscribe so you can stay tuned to all the updates and content that we're kicking out here at Cyberpunk Uncensored. Check out the links in the description, and I'll see you next time. Take care.